Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I'm going to talk to you about the haters that are hating on the Haslab Dragonfly. Now, first thing I want to say is that every one of the points that these haters are bringing up, they're valid. So, valid points, we're going to discuss those points, we're going to talk about it, but I'm not going to be an apologist for Hasbro because I really don't feel I need to be. I think this is a very solid project. The price is priced well for what it is. And with that, it's a lot of excitement in the community, and I think that it's a pretty good project. But we're going to address all the points the haters are bringing up, and we're going to talk about this as we possibly unlock the 13,000 first unlock. Possibly Monday, we hear about the 16,000 and the 19,000 unlock and what those characters are going to be. And so anyway, hopefully all that happens, but let's talk about the haters coming up. Okay, so for the first point, it's not really about the Dragonfly, it's about Haslab in general. You got a lot of haters that hate Haslab because Haslab is what it is. Billion-dollar corporations that are crowdfunding items so they don't take a loss on a product. And that's basically what's going on right here. So with that, I've talked about this before in the past, but there's people like Michael at Retro Blasting and Tony at Analog Toys. Two very good channels, two people that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I do like their opinion, but I fully disagree with them on this one. So I've talked about this in the past in several videos, but I'm just going to touch on it real quick before we move on to the very specific points. But I remember back in, 2010, 11, 12, the good old days of collecting Star Wars and the Legacy collection, and really the only thing that would have made this perfect is if they were in vintage collection packaging back then. But this vehicle came out at $130. Then it was clearance down to $35. Now they put it in my garden center. I didn't get it, but I ended up buying a used one for $40, by the way, which wasn't a big deal. They probably got it for the $35 sale anyway. But these are the good old days, and I really wish that's the way things were now, but they are not. I remember getting this AT-AT for $100 off the store shelf, and then later on, it was clearance down to $50, and I got a few more. I forgot how many I bought, but $50 each. It's an amazing vehicle. I absolutely love it. I still have several of these floating around here and there. And so with that, I wish that we still were in this heyday and that the numbers and the finances still made sense for corporations to put these out on the shelf for $100. And I actually had no interest in this MTT when it was out, and it was $135 vehicle that clearance down to $35, and I couldn't resist at $35. It was so cheap on clearance. But every one of these big vehicles, I could say they were successful, but they also failed because they all went to clearance in droves. We're not talking about one or two. All of my Walmarts had 7 of each of these just clogged up. I think they had 20 Falcons on clearance. Now I knew back then something was going to change, and that's Haslab. That's how they figured out to stop doing that with large vehicles that can't seem to make it at retail. They can't move enough product for retailers to want to continually stock them. And now we're entering into one of the worst economic times of my life. And it's crazy and scary at the same time. I'm seeing retail just slow way down. And all the Walmarts and stuff seem to not sell hardly anything. There's very little actually selling at retail these days. Part of that is because people are buying online, though. But with that, retailers don't want to take on this risk. And I bought 5 of these, and I told everybody I was buying 5. And I told everybody that they should get in on this at $500 if they don't want to pay $2,000. So anybody who's saying that this should not be a Haslab is basically understanding that it's either be a Haslab or do without it for the rest of your life. They will not make it. You can have a third-party person 3D print it for you for $300 or $400 and just barely get a 3D printed helicopter. That is actually an option, by the way. So the next point the haters keep bringing up, and it's very valid. This is a very valid point right here, is the fact that we don't have the HISS tank yet. And everybody wants to have the HISS tank in hand. We can see how this looks and feels and works and all of that kind of stuff. And then, okay, we understand what a Haslab G.I. Joe is going to be before we get a helicopter. But the thing is, we know what Hasbro products are like already. This isn't like it's a whole new company. We know what it's like. And the real reason that they're doing this before the his tank's out, because it takes a long time to produce however many, there's 30,000 or whatever that they made, and it takes a while to produce those. But the real reason has nothing to do with the production schedule of this. It has everything to do with your budget during a massive recession / depression that's upon us. So if you're to have multiple HasLabs going at the same time, the Rancor, the Sky Striker, and was it a Galactus? I don't even remember. Whatever else was going on at the time, that was at the same time or within a proximity of each other, then it stretches people too far. And so with that, I really think that the Rancor was sacrificed so that we could have the Sky Striker. And I never really felt like Sky Striker was worthy of a HasLab. I don't think it's a dream project. Dream projects are not something we already have 6 of from past iterations, but that was a debate from back then, and I think we're going in a new direction now. But having too many of these at the same time is going to definitely be a problem, and we know we have a Star Wars one coming, which is probably going to be an Ewok Village. We know that we're going to have another Marvel one coming, which is probably going to be, maybe it's going to be an updated Fing Fang Foom, who knows, because that thing is getting expensive, but I don't know much about Marvel. But with that, if you put all of those in at the same time, one of them's going to fail. They're learning that, and they're learning it for their bottom line. They're not here to be your friend, by the way. They're here to make money, and competing against themselves at the same time is not going to work. That's why they did this. That's why they could not really wait until the HISS tank was out. And actually, the biggest complaint about the HISS tank itself so far is people saying that they missed out on it. They did not pull the trigger. They wish they would have. And I do understand that. I know a lot of people overthink everything, and it's not a low amount of money. $300 for a toy is a lot of money. It should always be considered a lot of money, but that's the biggest complaint, is missing out on it. I think they're going to come back with a recolor down the road. It's already in the print. Lenny's already said that the door's open for doing that. We'll probably get a different recolor of the HISS tank in the future, but there's no concrete evidence of that just yet. So there are people that still complain about the price, and so there's a lot of different angles to look at this. So first of all, I think that it is a lower priced HasLab and should be probably the lowest priced HasLab that's out there. Now, we had some Transformers ones for $180, and then this one here is, well, almost double that. Almost double the Transformer HasLab. But the thing about this one is you have 4 unlockable figures, which I'm pretty sure we're going to hit all 4. The fact that you're going to get this for $175. And so $275 minus $100, $175. The thing is, we know for a fact we've got 1 figure. We're all on the cusp of unlocking the 2nd figure. So if you want to say that, we can knock 50 off that. But I'm not really too upset about the price on this. I am a little disappointed that the figures are numbered, though. I really think that if you're putting figures in this, leave the number off of it. That's as simple as leave the number off of it. Do not have the number on it, but they're doing that, and that sucks. That is a big complaint, leaving the numbers on these, numbering these. So if you have a complete set, you have to buy the HasLabs. I don't like that. I think that this should be something special, an offshoot. This should not be numbered, but they're going to be numbered, sadly. So the next point that the haters are bringing up, that when it comes to price, and they're wanting to point out that we've got the Serpentor with the Air Chariot for $80. Now, people can argue that that was already too expensive. I kind of felt it should have been in the 60 range. $80 was a bit much for that one, but they're using this one as, hey, this was able to be produced, and this was produced for $80. So how come we couldn't get this Dragonfly produced as maybe a Pulse exclusive? Now, it could have been produced as a Pulse exclusive, but I kind of think that there's a threshold of size, expense, and size has to do with their production aspect. So with that, I do understand that complaint about it, but we are also going to run into something that other people brought up. There are well over 100 vehicles that are probably could get made, and of those 100 vehicles, how many should be a HasLab and how many should be just released on open market general releases, kind of like this. Even though this is an exclusive, we have a general release. No, the Trouble Bubble is also an exclusive also. The Flypod is an exclusive. The Ram with the Breaker and Ram, and then the repainted Ram with the Tiger Force with Duke and all that kind of stuff. Those were the Duke's an exclusive, but the regular Ram cycle was not. But anyhow, these smaller ones should actually be open to everyone to buy. I don't know why this is exclusive, but this really has nothing to do with Haslab. We need these smaller ones for the lower price point of $55, which is excellent, to offset these bigger ones, so we can have more vehicles and fill out the display and fill out the line, because you have a couple of Haslabs, one a year for classified, but you can get 4, maybe 3, 4 of these smaller vehicles a year, which would be fantastic, and that's the right way to go, to be putting out 100. There's over 300 characters that they're going to eventually put out, but they're going to turn that into 1,000. But with that, this is the right way to do the vehicles, to do some smaller ones for the lower price points, and then the Haslabs for the bigger ones. And like, how big can they go? I don't think they could do it well. I don't think they will. I think it's too big. So next one on price. There's a lot of discussion about the shipping on this one, and so this one really is a small point, but it looks like it's $17 to ship. That's not bad at all, actually. I'm ordering 3. It said it would have charged me $51, but it's going to charge me nothing because I have premium. So it's $50 for premium. I paid for that right before I got the His Tank, and you know what? It's a sweet deal for me because I bought the premium for $50 right before the His Tank, and I ordered 2 His Tanks. Now I'm going to order 3 of these. All of that $50 is free shipping on all this for me, so it worked out for me fine. And if you're into this, I would suggest, if you're getting more than one, that go ahead and get the premium. Of course, I hated paying for the premium all the way up until right before the His Tank funded, so that premium is another issue, but it pays for itself on these if you're buying multiples. So next, the haters are talking about the unlocks. Well, I'm going to talk about unlocks more of in a positive way, but I think it's a little bit fun. A little bit of guesswork in here. Like, we see the first tier, the first goal to achieve, which we're almost there, and by the time people are watching this, it's probably already there. But it's kind of fun to guess, and a lot of people in the comments talked about this and chatted about this. It was a lot of fun. I've watched a couple of videos of people thinking what it's going to be, so I compiled myself a little picture list of what these are going to be. But yeah, the haters hating on all this is they're saying that we shouldn't count these figures that aren't already included, these unlocks. They're saying we shouldn't count them into the price or the value of this whole thing, but at the trajectory that it's going, I'm pretty sure it's going to hit it, even in a soft economy. Okay, so these are the 4 names that I've seen the most in my comment section, and I looked at a couple other videos, and I keep seeing these names pop up again. But of course, Airborne, and I personally didn't think Airborne would be the inclusion. If so, he would be like a Tiger Force, not Tiger Force, but the Night Force. So I wasn't thinking that would be included because of the fact that he's sort of a mainline character, and I kind of figured, well, that would really suck. The only way to get him would be with a Haslab. But a lot of people pointed out that he's kind of a character that's not really that popular. So I don't know on that one. So this seems to be the most common, and a standard one of these. Maybe they make them and then they put him out at retail as a different, like maybe a retro version. I don't know. But that seems to be the number one that people are talking about is Airborne. Now, number 2, Hawk was my thought on it. I was kind of thinking, and a lot of people did kind of say they thought that could work, but I was actually thinking like a Night Force Hawk, and then a prelude to releasing a standard Hawk at retail. I just can't see them putting a main character out in a Haslab that's not going to be at retail. Then the other one was Lift Ticket. People talking about Lift Ticket a lot and saying that that would be cool to get pilots. So it does make sense. If a vehicle is too big, they're never going to make it as a Haslab to include a pilot with another Haslab. I guess I could see that. But I personally like the idea of getting the pilots. If you're not going to be able to make that vehicles too big, getting a Haslab is a good idea. And then Doc, this is the Super 7 version, which I look forward to. But a Doc is one. People talk about it because of you can put the stretcher on there and all that kind of stuff. But I really don't think Doc, as a standard Doc, would be included. I think Doc is way too important of a character, and he'll definitely get a mainline release. But a recolor Doc could happen. Maybe in some sort of different fatigues or something like that. But it would be interesting to see. The last thing that I really want to talk about that I hear haters talk about is the electronics. They feel like it's unnecessary to have the electronics in there, and then it raises the price. I want to say that when you make something like this, some lights and maybe some sounds, doesn't add but a few dollars to the price. It's not like they could have taken it from $275 down to $200 with no electronics in it. So this is the cost on this for one unit to put in electronics would be crazy. But to put electronics in, because they've already figured out the engineering of it and it's a manufacturing thing, it's only adding a few dollars per unit. I might be off, it might be $8 a unit, but it's not like it's going to save a ton of money, but they're putting it in, and it's sort of a thing to command the price point. But the electronics are not why this thing's so expensive. The electronics are just a reason for them to maintain a price point and to say it's a premium item. But I'm not a big fan of them that much anymore, but I still think it's cool. It'll be a fun gimmick for a little while. So haters are going to hate. I'm not going to be negative about it. I mean, some people have been a bit negative towards me about my video and my liking of the project and excitement for the project. But that's what happens when you're in public space. People do that to you. It's not a big deal. I'm so used to it, being on YouTube, the thick skin kind of thing. But I'm still excited for this, and I still think that the people that are haters are probably going to come around. There's a lot of people that are going to back this that haven't backed it yet because they want to see if things unlock and all these tiers unlock and all this kind of stuff. But the last day of this project is going to be a frenzy like we've seen with all the other ones. And so if we're just within a couple of thousand of the 19,000, then it's definitely going to hit in the last day or two. So anyhow, I'm curious what you think about this. Did I cover all of the hater points? Are there more hater points that I'm missing out there? And what do you think about all these hater points? Do you agree with them? Do you completely disagree with them? Or do you see where they're coming from, but you're like, I don't really care? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, Titanium Hanger out.